This is week 10, day 27, Monday. And that would be 10, 29, 18. I missed the board capture today, but anyway, we continued to talk about the internet, addresses, internet addresses, and web access. And also we did some work on servers, looking at items on servers and trying to understand how it all works. So then, here we go. This was Wednesday. We're still on week number 10, day 28, Wednesday. Technology Club. We talked more about that on Friday. Assignment 4, Cloud Utilities. I did a review of some key items on there. We actually opened and started Project 4. And we looked at more things on defining the internet. Why to understand, how much, basics, examples. And we logged into the local network using our new logins. Oh, I got it written right here. We'll talk about that here in a second. Last name, first initial, so forth. Alright, I say that a lot. Talk about a host name, IP address. Host names can be domain names, and we can use DNS to convert the domain name to an IP. And we're talking about logging in here. The new logins in the lab, last name, first initial. This is the initial password, and then you have to change it. Okay. We reviewed the internet. We talked about the tier 1 providers and how they communicate together, and then we have our ISPs. Typically tier 2 or tier 3 that connect in. And then they allow us access into the internet. And then we talked about our situation here at NIAC. We have the main campus. And then we have the IT area. And we talked about accessing the server again. We reviewed some address items. I talked about the difference. Yeah, this is public and private address. We have the server sitting here. We have our multi-layered switch connected here to our firewall. This is our DMZ is our area. We'll talk more about that later on. And then we have our regular network here, our switch in the room, our PCs connected there. And we talked about addressing. You go into a location, you go somewhere, DHCP gives you an IP address, like we did an example here at the college. Somebody gets an IP address, they were connecting here to the access point. That IP address is tied to the MAC address. That's how it gets back to your individual. In this case, the student was using a laptop. And then we have a port number that matches it up here. These two match, so that you can use this public address out on the internet. Then when it comes back, it looks at the port numbers, then it can put this private address back on the device, which then is matched with a MAC address, and the signal comes back to an individual device. So we did a little work. We created a directory. We logged into the server. I call it Work Server 2. We logged in, and in this case we used PuTTY. We're going to look at some other options. In this case we logged in, we used PuTTY, and then we changed directories to the public HTML directory. And then we made a directory for our images. And on Friday we'll go through how to manage that, how to manage your putting an image on your website, the website that's being hosted at NIAC. We looked at again, we reviewed, you have a private address internally, gets converted using network address translation to a public address to use out on the internet. The internet has to have these addresses in order to move traffic. It's got to be able to see them in order to move traffic through the internet. Now, some students ask about a little bit about security, so we'll talk more about it later, but we can develop a virtual private network. More or less, you could be anywhere on your device. Let's just make up a spot. Let's say you're here, and you can pay. It's anywhere from $5 to $10 a month. You can pay so that on your device is some software, so when you want to go to the internet, what happens is it securely connects you to here, and then from here you do all your work out on the internet. Of course, you have to trust this site. So I did mention, if people say, well, this stuff is advertised for very little cost or nothing. Well, if you do that, typically they'll still encrypt your data. But what they're going to do is they're going to sell your data. You got to read those contracts really close. Probably says, well, we can resell your data. So you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. But this idea of VPNs used all the time. Companies will set up, they'll have a site here, and they'll have a site here, and they can use a VPN to connect those two sites using the internet. And all they need is the connection to an ISP, and then that can literally look like one network, so they can set up their own wide area network using the internet. That's it.